Yeah. Good evening, guys. Uh, Hello, everyone. Shweta Singh, Alina Sheikh, Santya Koyal Narkhade. Hello, everyone. So, I hope you enjoyed the last session. Yesterday, let's have a quick recap what we talked about the yesterday. We see in the introduction to JavaScript, like what is the importance of the JavaScript in the web development and the various operators, arithmetic operators and the assignment operators. And also we see the correct variables, the initialization of the variables and performing the operations on them. Today, we will go ahead with the loops and arrays part. Hi, good evening, sir.
Hi, thank you, Jyotsna. Good evening, guys. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
as Jyotsna said, we have finished the operators part. Some operators are still left, but I will be
yes, sir.
continuing with the arrays part first, and I will just put in some operators part and the loops part today. So I hope it's a good session today and a productive session today. Yep.
Yeah, guys, if you have any kind of doubt, just put it over chat. And for the attendance, there is a tab for attendance at the right of the chat. You can mark the attendance there. As also, yesterday Subrat sir also explained like how to mark the attendance. Fine, as attendance is very mandatory for eligible of exam and the certificate. Yesterday there was no assignment. Uh, Okay, sir, can we go ahead or start for the today's session?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Visible and audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Guys,
Okay.
just put a thumbs up or like we can know you all are there. I can see many comments like hi, good evening.
Hmm.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's start, shall we?
Yes, sir. Sure. We
Yeah.
can start.
Okay. Okay. So hi guys. Continuing on yesterday's part, we have finished some operators, the assignment operators, and uh, the conditional operators also. So I got a question. I read some chats, I mean the comments and everything. So I got a interesting question, which is post increment and pre increment, which is like plus plus I and I plus plus. The difference. I will be telling you guys the difference today. Like really very simple. But before that, I'll do this exercise around like 8:25 when we are about to log off, so that it's very fresh for you guys and you guys don't get confused with all of the stuff that we are going to learn today. So starting now, what we are going to learn today, the first part is what we are going to do is the arrays. Okay, what is array, when do we use array, and how arrays make our life easy. Okay, so what is an array now? Technical terms, you would say that array is list like object. Okay, they are basically just single objects that contain multiple values stored in a form in like a list. Okay, so array objects can be stored in variables, but before that, before going forward, I'll just tell you why array is one of the most important thing. Now, okay, let's
So,
assume that what if we, sorry.
so please zoom in a bit.
Okay, yeah,
Screen.
sure.
Yeah.
Is this fine? I'll just
Yes,
zoom
sir.
in this also. This should
Yeah.
be fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Fine, sir.
Okay, sure. Sorry, guys. So continuing on, um, why we need arrays. So let's assume that what if we didn't have arrays? Now, what is the drawback, right? Why did we come up with arrays? So if we didn't have arrays, we'd store every item, every element, or anything that you want to store, right, in a separate variable, and then call the code that does the printing and adding separately each item. So this would be a lot longer to write out, right? Less efficient also, because what if you have 100 items? You won't give those 100 items to 100 variables. Of course, it's a performance issue. So that is why when we have come up with arrays, right? And we have, if you have any programming experience, you might know that arrays is used like in all programming languages, and it is a must, right? So let's start with how do we create an array. Okay. So for example, now let's say that we are creating a variable. We have just done these variable paths yesterday. But just to a little recap, we can declare the variable in three types, which is const, let, and var. I'm using let. You can use var also. Anything is fine in a small code, as you remember. So I'm using let now. So for example, let's take an example that you want to buy some items. Okay, there could be any shopping items, something like food items, right? So let's create a variable called not shopping, it would be shopping equals to, let's see, if we have bread. Okay, HTML, bread, milk, uh, it would be milk, it would be cheese. Okay, let's do this, and let's see what our console log gives us. So let's see console.log, and let's check what it gives us. And now when we check, so we get this, right? So when we get this, now you see there is an array that we get, right? What And why did we come up with array? Now if you wanted to type in these elements like in a separate variable, what would it be? Like you would type in let bread equals to bread, and I mean you won't be typing this for all the elements, right? Now for example, now we have only just 3 elements, but what if you have 10 elements? You would be tired in just 10 elements. What if you have 100 elements, and what are you going to do? So now we have come up with arrays, right? You won't be typing like let bread equals to bread, like let milk equals to milk, and use those variables. So this is the sole purpose of why we come up with arrays, why we use arrays. Okay, so now when we check our console, we get a list like object, right? Now why object? Because if you open this, right, if you open this, you see there is a value bread attached to a key, right? So if you have any previous programming language experience, you know what an object looks like, right? It is a key and a key value pair, if you know about that. So it is an array is an object like list of objects, right? So it's now when you open this code and when you check, so 0 is this is the key, right? And this is the value. Now why 0? Of course, the array, when you select the first index, so these are the indexes. Okay, 0 1 2, also the keys, but also the indexes. When you want to retrieve a value from an array, you use an index, right? So in an array, the index starts from 0. So that is why 0 is bread, 1 is milk, 2 is cheese. Now let's say we want to only retrieve the bread one. Okay, we only want to retrieve bread. So what we'll do is we'll put in a index over here inside this. So this is what the syntax looks like. So this is how you write it. So if you want to select the first element, and the first element from the array, so the first element is always the index 0. Okay, just keep this in mind. If you don't have any prior programming experience, keep this in mind that an array, the index starts from 0. Okay, so if you console log this and let's check what we get bread, right? Because it's the first index, right? So we get bread, and what if you type 1, you get milk. Okay, let's type in 3, let's see what we get. It's undefined. So it's not there, right? It's not defined. So the element 3, the index 3 in this array of shopping, the element is not present, so it is undefined, right? What if I put in your let's see, egg? Now let's check. We do get egg, right? So this is how you just retrieve a data from the array. Okay, this is how you do an array operation. Now we have just learned about creating an array, okay, and how to retrieve some elements, and some elements from the array. And now what if you want to modify it? What if you say ki, no, I don't want the first index as a bread, okay? Let's say that I want the first index as vegetables or veggies, for example. So what you can do is you can do this. So let what you will do is your no, not let actually, because it's already being defined. So what you can do is, so this is a shorthand again. So this would be shopping first index, right? Because you want to replace the bread with veggies. So it's a first index, right? So now you can just assign it as veggies, right? And now when you save it and when you check, you get veggies, right? The bread is gone and now you get veggies. So it's just a little modification on the array if it is, or if it's necessary, if you want to do it, so you can do it, right? Now what we are going to do is we have just created one, we have modified the array. Now let's jump into um, some methods, right? So what if you get a code, okay? Now for example in C++ or in C, you must be when you were in engineering, right? You get a program to find the length of the array or something like that. So you used to use for loops or while loops, right? You used to increment it and you used to print the value at the end and you used to return the result, right? So now in this case in JavaScript we have this function, we have this method, uh, which is the length, okay? So let's see, for example, let's count the length of the array, right? So what if we console log the length and we get the length as 4, okay? So there are 4 items in this. Please don't get confused, please don't get confused with the length, okay, and the index, okay? So when you calculate the index, right, when you calculate the index it starts from 0, okay? But when you calculate from length, the length of an array, you won't calculate a length from 0, right? There's no a value length equals to 0. I mean, it's just null, right? So when you calculate the length, it always calculates as 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? And when you calculate the index of the array, it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, right? I hope this is clear, you guys. Do we have any doubts? I don't think so. Okay.
Uh, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Alina Sheikh has a doubt. In
Mm-hmm.
place of console, can
Mm-hmm.
we use document dot write?
I think we can. I think we can. But let's see if we can. Let's do that. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if it gives us the value. So it does. So when you want to put it in HTML, you can write it as document.write. But for example, now if you check here, when you have mentioned document.write, it writes on the document. So you remember from yesterday's guide, what is a document? This is the document, right? And this is the HTML document that it renders the value on. So if you want, you can write it. But now I'm not going to use it because there are many methods and console gives us the liberty to open it and you can modify it also. So for now, for convenience, I'm using console. You can go ahead and you can try with document dot write also. It's totally up to your convenience. Okay. Yeah. So let's do this console dot log. Okay. Right. So now that we have just checked how we can calculate the length of the array, let's get into some more. Now let's see what is this length. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's see what is the um, how do you get all the indexes, right? Let's see what how we can get all the indexes and all the values also. So let's say that we have a number. Okay, or let and I call it as sequence, okay, equals to 1, 2, 3, 5. 4, 5, 8, right? And let's say if I use a for loop here, okay, let I equals to 0 and I is less than the sequence dot length, okay, and I'll just increment I. So what we are going to do is we just console dot log all the values in the I. Let's see what we get here, okay. Yeah. So what we have just done here is I have just logged all the values over here, right? So now comes the looping part. Okay, why I have just implemented this because of course, like yesterday, we couldn't complete most of the things. Okay, we were planning to finish the loops also yesterday. So I'm just giving you a brief and a simple example to start with, right? So we have the sequence, right? I have just created an array of sequence over here. Okay, this is the sequence. Now this is the loop that we are going to run. Now what is this loop? Now what is a for loop? Now for loop runs on initializations and the conditions, and if you want the increment. So these three are optional parameters. What do we call these are the parameters of the for loop. Okay, so I have just declared a variable I. Okay, so let I, and I've just put in as 0. Okay, now this I, if it's less than the sequence dot length. Now you know that the sequence, right? So we had already calculated the length part of the shopping, right? So now you know the length of this is 4, right? As from the previous example. So now also you know, so the length of this would be 7, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So we have 7 elements. So now when you check when I equals to 0, so the 0 value is less than the sequence of length, right? We checked yesterday some operators, right? Conditional operators. So we were checking some comparison operators also, which was less than and greater than or greater than and equal to, right? So when you check this, so the sequence of length, right? The sequence length is 7 here, and when 0, so 0 is greater than is less than 7, right? It's true. So when it's true, it console logs the first value, right? So now I over here is 0, right? If you're getting my point. So how it does is, now what is for loop? It does iterations. Okay, you have 100 values, it will iterate 100 values for you. Okay, let's keep it simple. You have 7 values here. Okay, if 7 is a lot, let's do it 5. Okay, let's do it 5. We have 5 values here. We have a for loop. Okay, now for loop takes 3 optional parameters. Okay, the first parameter is where you declare a variable. Okay, so now I have declared a variable, let I equals to 0. Okay, I have initialized that variable to 0. Okay, now the second parameter, if you check, it is a conditional, it is a comparison operator that I've used. Okay, so now here 0, right? Because I value is 0 over here, and the sequence dot length. So as you can calculate here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the length of the sequence array, right? It's 5. So 0 is of course less than 5, right? So when this is satisfied, it goes into this and it prints it, right? So when sequence of 0, right? Because I is initialized as 0. So when sequence of 0, so when you check here, can you see this example here? You know that the first value of an array, right? You can get it as a 0 inside the bracket, right? So similarly, I have just implemented this sequence of 0. So now you get the first value of the array, right? And when it console logs it, it increments, right? So what this does is it increments the value to 1. So first it was 0, now it is 1. So now again it will iterate the same thing. So now it won't check this because the value of I is now 1, right? So now if sequence I, right, the value I is less than the sequence of length, so now again you have 5 and 1 is less than 5. So again now here the sequence of 1 would be 2, right? and it will print 2. Again, I plus plus. So now the value of I will be 3. Again, it will check I is less than sequence dot length, right? So 3 is less than 5, right? So now again, it will print the third value. You're getting my point. So this is how you get iterations. So now you say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So when you get a 5 over here, now 5 is not less than 5, right? If I put it as equals to, it would still increment, right? Let's see what we get here. Okay, you get an undefined because there is no value right now. You got the point here, right? When we try to get a value of an element which is not in an array, we used to get undefined, right? So now when you check this, if I remove equals to, I will again get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because that's the value that is present inside the array. So this is how a for loop works. And this is the for loop. I mean, how this works is similar in all the programming languages when you come across, even in C++ and Java and Python and all the other Ruby, PHP. So these are some of the parameters that we put in. We declare a variable, we put in a condition, and based on the requirements, you increment or decrement or neither, neither of them, right? And then and when I console log it, I get all the values over here. So this is how I just implemented a for loop with an array, printing all the elements of an array. Okay. Now, uh, other than this, we can do other array methods. Okay, so there are different array methods. I'm just going to comment this out now for now. Okay,
So,
yeah.
can you take example, we are taking the input from the user. This
Okay.
sequence, we are taking the input from user.
Well, for now we can't do that. In this
Okay.
case, if possible, I'll just come up with this example tomorrow. I'll get in a code, proper piece of code, because if I do that right now, it will take some more time. So I'll just note
Okay,
this
sir.
out for me, and I'll just put it for tomorrow.
Okay,
Is that
sir.
fine? Yeah,
Yes, sir. Fine.
yeah, okay. Okay, so continuing on the array, uh, we have some different methods other than this. Okay, let's put in some yeah, so let's put in some built-in methods. Now what are built-in methods? Like the browser gives us the methods that you can use to just narrow your work down. So for example, now let's say that i want to um, I want to just join, I just want to join something with a comma. For example, let's see. Okay. What we can do here is, yeah. Uh, I'll just take this code again. Okay. I'll just do this. Okay. And what I'll do is, I will join shopping dot join with this and this. So what I'm doing here is I am joining these values with a comma separated. Okay. I'm just making it a comma separated, right? I'm just doing this. Or instead of join also, you can split it also. So there are different methods. You can just find these methods on MDN or somewhere else. So what we are doing here is, I've just not console.logged it. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. Mm, right. Data. Okay, what happened? What happened? What happened? Something went wrong. Let me just check. Okay, okay, it shouldn't be this. It shouldn't be an array. Uh, oops, oops, Huh. So, for example, okay, for example, let's see this. So this is a method that we are putting in. What we are doing here is converting between strings and arrays. Okay. So what now I have done is I have put in a length, a string. Okay. Just created a string. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split these strings with a comma. Okay. So what I can just do is when I show you this. Okay, so, right. So I just put in over here when you check what shopping is, I have not created as a array, right? So if you check here and if you check the uh, check this line of code, you will see there is a difference, right? So when you are creating an array, you put in a square brackets, right? That is how you symbolize, but not what we have done over here. I've just created a string. So for example, suppose that user is giving a length of strings, okay, and you want to convert it in an array and you want to split all these words, you want to split all these words of the string with a comma. So you do this. So I'm just splitting it with a comma. So this split is an array method. There are different types of methods in arrays. There is a split, there is splice, there is slice, um, and then there is I think toString also. So I'll just show that to you, the toString one. But what I am doing here is, so this is a string which has different values. Okay, it's not an array. If you check, I have not put in a square bracket, so it's a string. Okay, and I want to split it. Okay, and I'm just logging it. So when you save this and when you check, you will get an array that we used to get before, right? So this is what the split does. Okay, it's a method to convert this string to an array. Okay, by joining it, I mean, if because I have purposely put in the comma over here, because if you check the sequence, right, let's see, if you check the sequence here, console.log sequence, right, I'm just console logging this sequence. Okay, I'll just comment this code out. And when you check this, so you get this comma separated values, right, in an array. So I was just trying to show you guys this thing, that if you get a string, if you get a string, right, and what if you want to convert it in an array. So what you will do is you will just use this method which is split, and you will do this. So for example, here I am using the comma because you want the array and you want the elements to be a little clear. So that is why I'm using a comma. And when I console log it, I just put in and you see the same value. So this is one way of converting a string to an array. Now, for example, now again, if you have this, right? Now, let's see. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's now convert an array to a string. Okay, so let's uncomment this code. Okay, now I have an array, right? Now I have an array. Let's name them something else. I'll just name them. I have removed all of those codes. I'll just copy this one, and I'll just put it like this. So these are the elements here, right? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So now if I console log it, okay, and now when I check, you get this array, right? This is what we have created over here, right? But we want to convert it to a string, right? So what we can do is let I'll just create a variable, and what I can call is convert. Okay, I'll just use this. Okay, and I'll what I'm doing here is I'm converting this array into a string, right? So how do we do that? There is a method called toString, right? So VS Code gives you this recommendation of what you want to use, a choice of what you want to use, and let's see what we get in return. So I'll just do this as convert because that's the variable that we are using. Okay, let's see now what we get. You see, this is the exact string that we wanted, right? So
So,
when you check, yeah,
so please zoom in at the output part.
okay, Can I do that? Yeah. Is this
Yeah.
fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this much should be fine, right? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys. So, yeah, what we have done here is we have taken an array. Okay, we have taken an array, and that array we want to convert it into a string, right? So, what we are doing here, we are using a built-in method called toString. Okay, and with this, with the help of toString, we are converting this array, right? So, the array is stored in a variable sequence. What we do is sequence dot toString. So, we are calling this method to the array, okay, and this method and the value is then stored in a variable called convert, okay. So when I console log this convert, I get the value as bread milk cheese. So these are some small array methods that we use. We have just seen how to convert an array to a string, how we have converted a string to an array also in this case, just if you guys weren't paying attention or bored because of me. So this is how it looks, right? So what we had done here is just a recap. We have taken a string, right? We have used a split method, okay? And the split method is just the splitting of the string. And how do you want to split it is the value, the argument that you're passing. So I've just passed a comma over here, right? So split comma, and when you console log the my data, you get it in an array format, okay? So this was about those two methods. Okay. Now some more important methods. What we can do is, okay, I'll just remove. I'll just remove this part. Okay, or I'll just comment it out if you want. Yeah, and let's take this example now. Okay, we have this array. Now what we are going to do, okay, let's say for example you want to push something, right? You want to push something, and what I mean by pushing is, what if you want to put in a value, right? What if you want to put in an element over here after egg, right? So what you can do, what you might be thinking, you will just count the index. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. And now what you will do is, let's do sequence 4 equals to um, uh, jam, let's say jam, okay, and console dot log the sequence, right? Let's see what you get. You get a jam. You get a jam. You have pushed a successful value. But is it appropriate? What you had to do is you had to count. Okay, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. Now, considering that our example is very small, you have only 4 elements. What if you have like 97, 98? You won't be counting each and every value, right? So this is where the push value comes, the push method comes in. So what you're going to do is, how we are going to do it. Let's say we have this yeah, let's remove this value. So we have this array, right? We have bread, milk, cheese, egg, right? And now I want to push something, right? So what push does is, it pushes a value to the end, right? So whatever your however, how many of your elements you must be having, you must be having 97, you must be having 997. So the with the help of push, you will push it to the end of the array, okay? So what we are going to do is, um let's say, let's what can we name it, at the end. It's a very bad way of declaring a variable, but it's just to show you guys and make it as clear as possible. So what we are going to use here is push. So this is an inbuilt method that JavaScript gives us. So let's do it as jam. Okay, I'm just going to push this, and what we can do is, we'll just see, and this is what your output is. Okay, so jam is being pushed. So this is just a simple JavaScript method of JavaScript array method, where you are just pushing a value in at the end of the array. Okay, now what if I want to push more than one values? You can do that too. So let's do as something called as let's say butter, and if you put in like this, so you get this example. egg. So you get bread, milk, cheese, egg, jam, and butter. So this is how you push multiple things also, right? In case of if you had to do this, right, the one that I showed you before with the index value, you will have to create two lines of code. You will push at 5, then you will push at 6. So nothing of that sort. You can push n number of elements here. I've just pushed 2 elements. You can push n number of elements, and this is how you push a value to the end of the array. Now let's say if I want to remove something, right? So let's say I have pushed jam. Okay, now let's remove this thing. Okay, yeah, I'll just remove this part. Okay. Now let's say that you want to remove the first, you want to remove the last element. Okay. What if you want to remove, now again, you won't be following that conventional method of, going with the index values. You can just use a inbuilt method called pop, right? So when you check here, you have to give the value of what you want to remove. Now, for example, here I'm just going to, no, I don't think you have to put the value because, of course, if it does create redundancy. So here, see, bread, milk, cheese, you don't have to put in a value inside pop because pop automatically pops out the last element. You don't need to put in any value because whatever it may be, the last element will be popped out. So this is how you put in a JavaScript array method, and this array method pop will help you to pop the last element from the array. Okay. Now let's say uh, let's do this. We have just pushed one element at the end, and we have just popped one element from the end, right? So what if we want to put something at the start, and what if you want to uh, remove something from the start, right? So we have two methods. Let's say we have two methods called shift and unshift. So what unshift does is it pushes just like the push, but the push pushes it in the last, and the unshift pushes it at the first. Okay. So let's do one example of it. Unshift. Okay. And let's say what we want to add. Let's say jam only, for example. You see, now the jam is at the first, right? And before, when you use the push method, the push was at the last, right? So now when you are using the unshift method, you are putting this value in at the first element, right? Now what if I want to remove this? So I'm just going to use shift. Okay. And because now I don't have the jam value, so I'll just remove bread from the first one. Okay. Now when I check, it's milk, cheese, and egg, and the bread is removed, right? So these are some handy JavaScript methods that you will be using. Okay. This one is pop, which pops the last element from the array. Push, that pushes an element at the end of the array. Unshift, that pushes an element to the first element of the array. Shift, which pops the first element from the array. So there are 4 methods that are a little important that you should always know. Okay. And this was about, sorry, Jyotsna, you're saying something?
Yes. So
Yeah.
Koyal is asking, we can
Mhm.
also call the values by giving their sequence number.
Sequence number, as in, yeah, you can. So I think what Koel is asking is if I want to retrieve bread, so I think you can just do this and console log, so I will get bread. So yeah, you can put
Okay.
in the index of the element, right? So what if I want cheese? So remember what I said, index starts from 0. Okay. So the bread,
Yeah.
so the cheese is not at 3, it is at 2. So you will put it as 2 and you will get cheese, right? So this is how you retrieve one value using the index value of the array, right?
So
Uh, yeah.
Morshital is asking, like, if we
Mhm.
want to push or pop the elements from in between, like from second or third, do we
Yeah.
use push or pop or have some another
Yeah,
methods?
yeah, yeah. So I am just going to explain you guys that, and I think that's the last part of the array part, and which is a little tricky. So that is why I kept it for the last thing. But yeah, thank you guys. Good question, and I am really believing that you guys are paying attention. So that's nice. Yeah. Uh, so before jumping into that, I hope this is cleared. This example is clear for you guys. I'll just give you guys a 2 minute break if you want, and that's not a break to enjoy. Just put in some console log elements, just some elements, some array, and try to execute the push, pop, shift, and unshift methods on your own. Just console log some value with the index value also. Just take 2 minutes of your time, okay? And just do that, and I'll just return you, like, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, till now, if you have any kind of doubts, you can
Yeah.
ask it now. Yeah. So Sheikh is asking, like, if shift is removing the element from first, then
Mm-hmm.
why you gave the bread? I don't understand which bread.
Why you gave bread
Uh,
as?
okay, okay. He's
Mm-hmm.
asking, like, shift is used to pop out the element from the first part. Then
Mm-hmm.
why we need to define the element name? Why we are
Okay.
defining the element name if shift
Okay.
can pop out
Yeah,
the first
yeah, right,
element?
right.
Yeah.
So for now, I've just done that. Let's see if that works for you guys also. That's a good question. Let's see. Yeah, you do that. You can do that. So what I have just done is I've just created this. Okay, I have just returned the value of the first element that is removed. Okay, so this is where we have stored it. Okay, let's say if I just put in here, it's the same thing. So you don't have to. I mean, I put it by mistakenly. But of course, if you know the value, you can remove it. Because I knew the first value, so I removed it. Of course, even when you get the data, you might put in. But even if you don't put in, it's totally fine. Good one. Shiv, I think. Shiv was his name. Thank you.
Uh, yes.
Yeah.
So Anubhav is asking, without declaring a variable, can we use this sequence dot functions?
Without, sorry.
Declaring a variable, can we
Hmm.
use this sequence function? So
Sorry. That question. I don't. I think what he's asking is if I use this, right?
yeah, I think.
I think without using the variables, let's check if that works too. It does work. So there is no difference. I've just created another variable just for you guys. So when you check my variables that I've used, it is just for, just to keep it a little clear for you guys. So now I was doing the pop and push. So that was from the end, right? So now I'm just creating a new variable called at the first so that you guys know that it is doing some operations on the first element, right? On the first array. So that is why I've just created an extra variable. It is like if you want to create, you can create, or just you can do this thing, what I just did. So you can remove this variable. Okay. You can just remove this variable. And what you can do is you can just put in this as your console log. Okay. So inside console log, you can put in this no semicolon, and it will do the same thing. So it gives you this. It's the same thing, just to make it a little clear for some people who might have missed something here and there. It's just for them. Otherwise, you can obviously focus on the performance thing, right?
Yeah. So Daksh is asking, can we declare array in other declarations like variable, where, etc.?
Yes, 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 you can. You can. It's totally on your convenience. I'm just using let just for, no purpose. I mean, nothing in my mind to use. Like you can use var, you can use const, you can use let also that I have been using, but the value, the output would be the same. So you can do it any way you want. I'm just using let right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Guys, For the attendance, please scroll up the screen. There is an attendance tab right over the chart. You can mark the attendance from there. And it's working. And if it's not working or like not saving, you can refresh the page and then mark the attendance. So Vaibhav is asking,
Mhm.
like without declaring variable, can we use only sequence dot shift?
No. So without declaring variable, what variable? So I have created this array in a variable. So this line is important. Okay, you cannot create a variable. You cannot create an array without using a variable. You have to store that array in some variable, right, Vaibhav? So you created an array and you stored it in this sequence. So the sequence is this variable here, and this is an array. So I have stored this array in a variable, and I have just implemented some JavaScript method. In this case, I've implemented shift. So this shift on that variable. So that's how you do it. Because the first part, if you remember Weber, you implement a array using the variable, right? So you have to store that array in a variable. That's how we do it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think. Okay.
Himanshu has a question. But if
Mhm.
we give other variable in shift, it will give error. If we give,
Himanshu, that is what I just asked you guys to do. That what if you, I mean, just play around with the code, right? So when you play around with some code, you will get different types of errors, right? Because, see, like for example, I'll, well, Himanshu asked this. So let's do Himanshu dot shift and let's see if that works. Of course, it won't work because reference error. You get this reference error that Himanshu is not defined, right? Because I have nowhere created this Himanshu variable over here in my code, right? And I have not assigned that array to Himanshu. I have assigned that array to sequence, right? So yeah, you got the answer, Himanshu. You cannot use any variables. Of course, wherever you have uh, stored that array, you will use that variable only to perform any methods. Getting back, I think we have, I think, talked for this around like 5 minutes now.
yeah.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah, I'll just finish those two parts again because they are a little tricky. So, I hope you guys did do some modifications to the code and tried it. You got any errors? Good. If you did not get any errors, then maybe you did not try enough because Himanshu did try and we get an error over here. So, guys, please just practice. This is the one thing that you just don't forget. I am teaching you guys, but only for an hour, and this is not something that you will learn in an hour. Okay, there are lots and lots of things. There are core principles why you get this error, why you get that error, why you get undefined. So please, as I said in our yesterday's um, session also, it is very important that you read. Okay, sorry guys, I'll just put it on silent. Yep, sorry. So yeah, as I was saying, you have to read a lot. You guys should follow. If you guys are not on LinkedIn, you should follow LinkedIn. There are people, there are developers who write their experiences, how they learned something. You should follow some blogs. There are two good apps that I follow. There is one is Medium, one is Dev2. I'll just can you write it for me? Or no, I can write it over here. Yeah. So there is dev.2 and there is Medium. Yeah. So there are two apps that give you a great experience of knowledge, and there are a lot of learnings over there. You will just learn a lot of things. People, what they are implementing, how they are implementing, what all difficulties they face, of course. So you just have to keep learning, okay, and not just be dependent on like okay 1 hour मैंने सीख लिया बस इसके आगे और कुछ नहीं मेरा JavaScript हो गया. That's not how it works. You have to practice. Okay. So, moving on, let's talk about uh, splice. One is splice, okay, and one is slice, okay. let's do this. I'll just create a splice and slice. Okay. Now what this does is I'll start with splice. Okay. Now the splice method returns the removed item. Okay. It returns the removed item in an array. Okay. And the slice method, okay, returns the selected elements in an array. Please just focus on these things. The splice method removes or returns the removed items. Okay, it returns the removed items in an array. Okay, and the slice method returns the selected elements in an array. Now how, I'll just show it to you guys. Okay, now the splice thing, it splice method, it takes arguments. Okay, and the first argument, it is an index. So an integer, so the index is an integer, right? So an integer that specifies at what position you want to add or remove items, you know. And the second argument is the optional, right? So the number of items to be removed, right? So if you set the optional argument as 0, no items will be removed. Okay, and the third is the new items to be added to the array. Okay, I know I told a lot of things, so let's go into a little code examples, okay, over here, and we will just implement what it is, and then I will just rephrase all the sentences that I've just told you. I'm going to create a new array. Okay, let array equals to 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now let's say console dot log array dot splice. So now I am passing this first argument. Okay, first argument. Now the first argument, as I said, it is an index. Okay, so now this index, now what is this index here? Okay, this index here, now if you remember, the index starts from 0, right? So 0 1 2. Okay, so this is the second one. Now what it does is, what splice does is, this changes the original array. Okay, now the splice method, it returns the removed items in an array. Okay, so what you are doing here, for in this case, okay, I have just given a value 2, which is the index, right? So from 2 it will return the removed items. So from 2 I want to remove everything. From index 2 I want to remove everything, right? So this is how you use splice. So in again, I would explain it to you. I have created a variable called array. I have initialized it. Okay, I have given some elements, some items inside it, 1 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, I am using a splice method, and I am splicing it from the second index. Okay, now splicing it from the second index means it will return me the value of index 2 until the end. Okay, let's see the uh, console, and let's see, you get 3 4 and 5, so you get all the elements from 2. Now for example, you can try this, you can try with any number. I'm just going to do again, what I have done is 1 0 1 2, right? So let's do 3 4, let's do 4, and let's see what we get. Will just get 5, right? Because the fourth index here, so 0 1 2 3 4, the fourth index here is 5, and from 5 you want everything, but in our case the array ends at 5, so it will just return 5. So this is how the splice works. You want something, right? You want something from the array, right? You want the elements to be given, you want the elements from a particular index, right? So this is how you get the values of an array, right, from a particular index. Okay, now let's do another example. Okay, let's do one more thing. Now for example, now let's say what I told you guys is, I told you guys that from index 2, okay, you want all the elements. But what if you don't want all the elements? What if you want some, only a number of elements? For example, let's say 2. Okay, I'm just passing here, and let's see what you get here. You get 3 and 4. So what you have done here is you have selected selected the elements. You have selected the elements that you want to remove from the index. Which index? The 2 index, right? So the first value over here is the index value from where you want to remove something. The second value is the number of elements that you want to remove. So I think before Jyotsna had asked me one question from one person who wanted to remove only one element, right? So if you want to
Yes.
remove only three, right? If you want to remove only three, you will put in that one, okay? That you want to remove only one element, and it is from the index two. Let's do this, and let's see. See, you get only three. What if you want to give two? You get 3 and 4. What if you want to remove all? So in that case, if you want to remove all, you will put in only one value, because it is only, it takes, this is the first argument in the splice method is the index, of course, and it is an required argument. Okay, so the other parts are optional. If you don't want to put in the second argument, you would, if you cannot do, I mean, you don't do that, it will return you all the elements from that particular index. Okay, but now for example, you guys might check, if you want to, what if I put 4? Now you know that there are no 4 elements over here. What will we get? You won't get anything. I mean, you will just get till the end of it, right? Even if you put 10, I want 10 elements, but we have only 3, right? So the end is this, right? So now you know that the end of the array is this, right? At 5, okay, and the index 4. So what if you want to put in as, suppose, index 4, okay? Index 4, you put in, you get 5, right? What if you put in, let's say, if, let's see if it takes a -1 value. Let's see if it takes, no, it doesn't. Okay, it returns an empty array, so the -1 doesn't work. But what if we do something like, what can we give it an example of? Let's see, huh. So let's do one thing. Let's give a splice value, uh, or I'll just give you a, I'll put it in the comment. Okay, I'll put it in the comment, and I'll give you one question, that if I want to remove, I want to get the value 2, 3, and 5. Okay, I, no, sorry, not 2, 3, and 5. Sorry, guys. I want to remove the value 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, I want these values. Can you guys tell me the solution for this? Let's see how many of you guys got it. If you did not get it, it's not bad. I might be, just not very clear enough. But if you guys got it, let's see how many of you guys get it. So I want 2, 3, and 4. Um, yeah. Is anyone typing? I don't see anyone typing. Can you, Jyotsna?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Rupali Jain. Okay. Array
Jen.
splice 1, comma 3. Vinod also.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get it. 2, 3, and 4. And you are right. Oh, there are many. Okay, you guys got it right. So this is how you do it. Okay, Krupa, you did not get it right. You have just mentioned 1. So what 1 will do is it will also get us 5, which we don't want, right? I just mentioned we want 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So what 1 will do is it will do this: 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Samiksha got it right. Ananya 1, comma 3 right. Rahul, you did not get it right. What will 1, comma 1 do is it will just put in the first index 1, and the number of arguments that you will, the number of elements that you will get. So I think what 1, comma 1 will do is will just get 2. Okay, Rahul, just check on your own. If you guys want any resources, I'm just I'm just repeating this, I think for the 10th time, but MDN is the best. You can just check MDN resources if my explanation was not clear. Yeah. And I think everyone else got it right. That makes me happy. Thank you, guys. Yeah. So, yeah. So this was about splice. Okay. Now let's see what is slice. Okay. Now what we are going to do is slice. Okay, guys, just pay attention. This is the last thing for today. Just give me like 5 minutes, and you will be good at arrays and array methods. Okay. Now, what slice does? Okay, slice also takes two arguments. Okay, slice takes two arguments. The first argument is again it's required. Okay, now here it's not an index, I mean the integer specifies from where you want to start the selection. Okay, and the second argument is it specifies where to end the selection. Okay, where you want to start the selection and where you want to end the selection. I will show it to you guys. Let's take the same example again. Okay, yeah. Now what I want to do is again, so for example, I want to do this again. I want 3, 4, and 5, right? So what I'll do is console.log array dot slice and put it. Now, again, the arguments are in a similar way, but what I want to do is I just want to get 3, 4, and 5. So what we are going to do is 3 is the index 2, right? So it is just going to put in here, right? And what you will get 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Now what you can do in slice. So suppose if I want 4 and 5. Okay. Suppose I want 4 and 5. Now if you check this array, right, it in slice method you can also retrieve something from the back. Okay, you can also retrieve something from the back. So for example here, if I want to take two elements out, okay, if I want to return two elements out, okay, what I can do is I can just put in -2. So this is minus because it is coming from the right to left. Okay, from the right to left. Now what it does is I'll just put in here. So what you get now is 4 and 5. Okay, now this is how it works. Okay, now let's see what is the difference between splice and slice, because of course you might be thinking, okay, this is the same thing that splice also does. Now let's see. Okay, I am slicing it, right? I'm slicing two elements out of the array elements, right? But now let's see if I console.log the array, the variable where I stored this. Okay, let's see what happens to this. You will be surprised that I removed two elements, but the original array remains intact. So this is what the slice method does. Okay, the slice method takes two arguments. Okay, required is the first argument, an integer. Okay, where you are specifying the start selection. Okay, and the argument 2 is where you are specifying the end selection. Okay, so this is the difference, because when you are slicing something, you are keeping the array intact. When you console.log it, you keep the array intact. Okay, and this is what it does. Now let's say I'll take another example, or even you can try it. Let's say I'll just do this. I'll just comment this out. Let's say 2, 4. Okay, now 0, 1, 2. Let's say you want to stop it at 4. Okay, but let's do it 3. What do you expect to see here? You get 3, and you get 3 only, right? And what did this do? You used to get some values, right? I used to tell you okay, 2, 3, and 4, I want these values. But in slice, if you check now, what slice does is it takes the first integer. Okay, it takes the first integer, which is at 2, and the second integer that you are passing, it will not consider that. I mean, it will stop at that. So the next integer that you are giving here is the place where you stop it, right? So for example, when you take an ice cream, right? So when you slice it, you don't include the last part of it, you just take out one slice, right? Can you imagine that? So this is what exactly the slice method in an array also does. So it starts from 2 and it slices it till 3. Okay, that one part, but that only one part is returned. And that part returned over here is the value 3 of the array, right? So it is at index 2, okay, and you are giving this the where you want to end it, right? So if you remember, it takes two arguments. The first is where you start the selection, and the second is where you end the selection, right? So this is how you get one value, right? So what if I did it as 2 as 4? So now the index here is 0 1 2 3 4, right? So I hope that I get this value. Let's see, you get it, right? So again, I'm explaining the same thing, but it is like really really important what we are doing here. Just imagine of an ice cream, okay? How you slice it, you put in a starting point, right? You keep a starting point and you want to slice something at the end point, right? And when the slicing is done, you get some part of it out, right? In the similar way, the array also works as this way, right? You are slicing an array. So the first argument that we are passing here is the index, right? The index that we want to start the selection with, and the second part is where you want to end the selection with. So the ending selection here is the index 4, but you don't include it, and this is an important part, okay? In slice, you don't include the value of the ending section, right? So now if you check here, the fourth index is 5, right, over here, because 0 1 2 3 4, right? So the fourth index is 5, the value is 5, and when you console log it, you don't include 5 here, because you only get 3 and 4, because it starts from the array, right? It starts from a selected point that you have specified, and it ends at a point without including it. So that is how the slicing works, okay? This was about splice and slice. Very important concept, guys. Before, I know it is a little confusing, but before you jump into some doubts, I want you guys to take some time to, just what we have done this today. I hope you guys were also coding these things out with me. Okay. If you were not, just take 2 minutes of your time and just code this. Put in your efforts. Try to slice your desired value. Try to splice your desired value. I won't be taking the uh, questions now, because I want you guys to try it once at on your own. Tomorrow at 7:30 we will sharp start. I hope we can start sharp at 7:30 tomorrow, and I will just take 5 minutes of your time to discuss splice and slice, and you guys can comment in the comment section with an example that you found very interesting. Maybe we all can learn, maybe even I can learn. Nobody is perfect, but of course I want you guys to try some things, okay? Just focus on splice and slice, okay? And if you want, if you are very well aware and very much comfortable with splice and slice, also you can try with uh, other array methods that we just went through, the length array method, right? So push and pop and shift and unshift also. So there are some array methods other than that also. So this is what we covered today. This was the array part. Very important, but very easy. Not very complicated. Once you get the note of it, what is slice, what is splice, how both of them works, what is the difference. Go on and just do some research, okay? And let's connect tomorrow at 7:30, and I'll just take a small revision and I'll give you one example tomorrow to just work on it, just like you guys did today. And I was very overwhelmed with your response, so thank you. Yeah, Jyotsna.
Yeah. Sir, is there any method to reverse the strings?
Yes, yes, there is.
Yeah.
So it is dot reverse, okay? It is dot reverse, and you can also do that. I mean, I'm just going to try reverse thing. I think it just takes the string, I think, but let's see if this reverses it, and I'll just console log it. Acha, I'm console logging. Let's see what we get. So yeah, you get 5 4 3 2 1, and this is the array elements. But again, guys, there are many methods. I'm not covering because as time permits in 1 hour, I'm not able to complete everything. This is one of the method that you guys just asked me to do, and I've just done it for you. But I really want you guys to go and learn on your own also, because this 1 hour is never sufficient, will never be sufficient for you guys. So go and check out more methods. If you come across some method that you found confusing, let's discuss tomorrow, or maybe at the end of the week when we are just wrapping everything up, where I can discuss your doubts. Maybe even I get to learn something new. So yeah, that's it from me today. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, it's time for the today's session. It's already 16 minutes delay. Tomorrow we will discuss the rest of the doubts. And tomorrow, if just practice out the splice and the slice method. If you have any kind of doubt, just put it out in the chat. Okay. So that's for the today's session. Hope you learned a many things from the sir. Thank you so much, sir, for such a session, amazing session. Let's end for the today.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Bye bye. Have a
Bye,
good
thank